The #1 tennis strategy holding players back at every level from 2-5 to 4-5 is so common that I'd bet money you're using it right now and it's costing you matches. And the worst part, most players think it's actually helping them win. The bad strategy is hit it where they're not, which is unfortunately the most common tactical approach by everyday players. On the surface, it makes sense, right? My opponent is here, so I'm gonna hit it there and make them run, get them stressed, and maybe even hit a winner. The problem with this superficial approach to the game is, ironically, it usually leads to more running and more errors for the player using it without them even realizing it. Let me show you what I mean. We're in the middle of a point right now, and I want you to put yourself in this player's shoes. As he gets ready to receive this forehand, watch how his opponent slides past the hash mark over to the other side of the court. And you can just imagine the thoughts in this player's head as he's probably saying, "Awesome, I got you. You're sliding all the way across past the middle. You're opening up a lane for me to hit behind you, probably hit a winner. This is like green flag, let's go for it." And unfortunately, there are 3 huge problems with that. Problem number 1 is as his opponent comes down in this ready position, he's actually in exactly the right place on the court. Let me show you why. From the point of contact here, the player on the other side of the court has 2 extreme options to try to hit his opponent out of position. Option number 1 is to hit the ball at an angle cross court, and option number 2 is to hit the ball behind his opponent down the line. And if we draw lines between those 2 options, notice how the yellow target, because it's an angle, the ball will continue going off the court, whereas the red target, the furthest our opponent is ever going to have to run, is going to be to the sideline over here. So if we draw a line in between the 2 options and our opponent's outside foot, you can see that he's actually dead in the middle of those 2 options. He's perfectly positioned. A great rule of thumb to remember if you're a singles player is when the ball is on one side of the court, you should be a little bit on the other side of the court. And so when this player goes down the line and takes the bait, the reason why it's bait to go down the line is because A, the down the line shot isn't actually open at all. Our opponent has correctly positioned himself, staggered a little bit on the other side of the court. And B, this down the line red target gives a much greater chance of making an error because the net is a little bit higher when you go down the line and the court is a little bit shorter compared to going cross court. That means there's much greater likelihood that we'll make an error, which is exactly what happened here. Unfortunately, we're just getting started. It gets much worse. When you're this player and you hit down the line to the red target, where do you need to position yourself for the next shot if our opponent gets that down the line shot? Remember, we want to be staggered a little bit on the other side of the court, which means after hitting the red target, we would need to position ourselves somewhere around here. What about the yellow target? If he aims for the yellow target, he's going to force his opponent to have to run just as far with less risk for missing the shot. But now where's the recovery? If he goes for the yellow target, he's already where he needs to be to get ready for the next shot. So by aiming for the red target, the player on the other side of the court has in effect doubled or tripled the amount of running he's going to have to do to get prepared for the next subsequent ball. But it gets even worse. When we aim for the red target, not only do we have to do more work to get over to the other side of the court before the next ball gets hit, but if our opponent moves over and gets the ball, where is the open court for him? He gets to hit cross court over to our exposed side of the court, which means he has less risk, less running, and we traded for that with more risk and more running. And so hopefully you can see that if you make this decision on a regular basis, your odds of losing by just missing shots go way, way higher. Your running requirements also go way, way higher. And we're setting up our opponent with a shot behind us with a high percentage direction, which means we're basically just handing our opponent a golden opportunity unless we just happen to hit a winner, which is not how most points end. By the way, if you want the solution to all of these problems, let me know in the comments down below. I have a special plan A that I always prescribe to my students to start every match with, which maximizes your chances for success and minimizes your chances of beating yourself. Please let me know in the comments down below if you'd like that, and I'll make that my next lesson. These principles are critical to be aware of because at all levels of tennis, most points end with an error. Somebody just making a mistake, not hitting a clean winner. If your strategy revolves around trying to hit lots of winners instead of working hard to gain an edge over your opponent with a high percentage target, then you're going to beat yourself a lot. That being said, sometimes hitting down the line is exactly the right play. The key is just doing so when your opponent gives you a real opportunity. Let me show you an example. Here's another point from that same match. This time we're going to pretend that we are this player. By the way, it's a fantastic match. I'll link to the full match in the description down below. As this ball comes in, I want you to notice his position, how he's coming forwards, how he's in balance, how he's well inside the baseline. And when he hits this shot, we're gonna draw our two little lines again. He could aim here at an angle, or he could hit here straight ahead down the line. There's actually a little bit of angle to this shot down the line, which again makes it different. There's a lot of nuance here compared to the example we looked at before. Look at how the player on the other side is way out of position here. He's nowhere near the center between these two shots, which would probably be somewhere about here. So because he's out of position, now this shot makes a lot of sense. Notice how this shot is nowhere near a line, but it puts his opponent on a full run, stretching and struggling to get to the ball, opens up now a high percentage angle away from him. And notice how this player is doing all the running. This player gets to just stand in place and basically be puppet master. But now he gets stuck and he just stands here and starts to spectate, not really in a baseline position and not really in a net position either. And so guess what happens? He gets put way out of position, and now this player has a golden opportunity to hit to the wide open court. His opponent is just now realizing it, oh crap, I'm nowhere close to where I should be. These are the situations where you should be looking to target down the line, where there's a clear opportunity, a clear gap in court. The first point example we looked at is just a mirage. It's just a trick. It looks like down the line is open. These are the situations where it really truly is, and you should be looking for these to change direction and go down the line. Ultimately, winning tennis players at all levels understand that tennis isn't a game of unpredictability or being sneaky or tricky. It's a game of quality of execution following proven smart patterns. If you want to know how to transcend the hit it where they're not tennis strategy so you can consistently win with high IQ patterns, let me know in the comments and I'll make it my next lesson if enough people want to see it. Until then, click the lesson on the screen right now to finally master your kick serve, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you so much for watching today. Keep up the great work on your tennis.